little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today I'm pleased to present to you the Celtic Weave Hat. Yes, absolutely love this stitch. It looks a lot more complicated than it is, and of course, you know I'm going to walk you through it. Um, I've seen a couple of different variations of this where it's a flat crown and then the pattern starts, or it starts from the bottom and works its way up, and then it becomes a slouchy. This, however, is a fitted crown, and the pattern goes all the way throughout, something I figured out myself, and I couldn't wait to share it with you guys. I know it's been a while since you've seen this hat on some of my videos, but here it is. It's finally here, and I hope you like it. So, that being said, for this particular hat, I used Pound of Love. By the way, this video is not sponsored, but I wanted to let you know, of course, what it is that I used. This is pumpkin spice, and today I'm going to be using some more Pound of Love in the colorway of Oxford Gray. And as far as hooks, going to be using a size I 5.5 millimeter hook. By the way, the weight of yarn, it's a weight of 4, okay? So this is the hook that I'm going to be using, a 5.5 millimeter. And then for the ribbing, you can scooch down a size to a 5 millimeter if you so choose. It's really, dealer's choice. I would say ultimately whatever works best for you. If you want a slightly tighter brim, I would suggest going down a hook size or 2. Again, it's up to you. So, with that being said, let's get started. All right, first things first with round 1. I've got my size I hook. Always start with the bigger sized hook if you're using more than one size. Okay, so I got a tail and got my slip knot. Shaboom. Okie dokie. Now, we are going to have a lot of double crochets initially for the first round. So I'm going to chain up, let me see, I've got 3, 4, 5, and let's do 6 for good measure. All right, and then slip stitch to that first chain to make a ring, like we do so very often. And we're going to need a total of 20 double crochets. Yes, indeed. Ooh, excuse me. So for the 20 double crochets, I like to start off by chaining up 2 to give myself the height, and then do my 20 double crochets. Sort of fills in the gaps a little bit. So we're going to do 20 double crochets. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, if I'm not entirely mistaken. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to double count. All right, so I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. Perfect. Okay, then to finish up round 1, going to slip stitch into the top of this first double crochet. There we are. And you can always cinch this tail and then sew in the ends. I wouldn't suggest doing it right away, but after a round or two, yeah, sure, go ahead. All right. And the reason why I did that chaining up of 2 first is that it sort of fills in the gap, the hole that would be there. And there you go. That's round 1. All right, round 2, we're going to take these stitches that we have and we are going to double all of them. Yes, we are. So again, to start off, chain up 2, and then around the post of each double crochet, we're going to do 2 front post double crochets. Now be careful not to go around this chaining of 2, otherwise you're going to end up with 22 front post double crochets. So going around this one here, not this one, going around the post with a front post double crochet, and then go around that same post with another front post double crochet. And basically we're going to be doing this for every double crochet stitch all the way around. So we're going to be doubling the count from 20 to 40. And I know it's a pretty big leap, but it enables us to get into the Celtic weave stitch that much faster. And it creates the texture that goes all the way up to the top of the crown. So that's really all we're going to be doing for the rest of this round. Just do 2 front post double crochet stitches around each double crochet stitch post. All right, so I'm going to do the rest of this round off camera, and when I'm about here, I'm going to show you how to finish up round 2. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm almost done with round 2. I just have 2 more double crochets to go around the posts. So let's get to it. Got this one right here. Okay, there we go. There's that one. And then I got one more. Because again, you don't want to go around this chaining of 2, but that is an actual double crochet stitch. So let's go around that one. Okay, and one more. There we go. And then to finish up the round, going to do a slip stitch into the first of the front post double crochet stitches. And there you go. The end of round 2. Now, yes, this is a little bit wavy because there's a lot of stitches in there. You know, it's very, very condensed, very tightly packed, but this will open up relatively soon, not to worry. All right, so let's move on to round 3. Okay, round 3, we're going to continue doing some increasing, and we're going to be increasing every other stitch. So again, to begin with, chain up 2, and best way I think of this is to treat this as a series of pairs. Now, with this first pairing that we had, you know, the increase into 2 stitches around the first of the front post double crochets, we're going to increase that one with 2 front post double crochet stitches yet again. So that's 1 and 2. And then into that second front post that we did, do just a regular double crochet stitch, like so. And then around the second pairing, 2 front post double crochets around the first one. And then a double crochet into the next stitch. Two front posts around the next. And then a double into the next. We'll do this once more. 2 front post stitches around the next one. And then a double into the top of that next one. So that's what you're going to do for the rest of round 3. And then when you get to the end, you have this pairing here, right? So again, you would do 2 front post stitches around the first one, double crochet into the top of the next, and then slip stitch into the top of this first front post double crochet right here. Okay? All right. So I will see you for round 4. Okay. Be right back. Okay, this is the round where things start to get a little hairy. All right, unlike the top of my head. Okay. All right, so for round 4, now keep in mind that yes, this is going to look like a vinyl record that was left out in the sun, but when it is on your head, don't worry, it will be flat. Okay, I'm just letting you know this now. It is supposed to be, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey at the moment. That is okay. That is to be expected. So you are not necessarily doing anything wrong because we are increasing at quite a rate in just a few rounds. So don't freak out. Do not worry. Okay. All right. So the reason why things are going to get a little bit hairy is because this is the round where we're going to start doing the actual weaving aspect of the pattern. But yes, I will walk you through it. Okay, so if you look closely, all right, we have 2 front posts and we have 1 regular. Well, we need to increase this one and cross stitches simultaneously in a very seemingly convoluted manner, but no, it works. All right, so I'm going to start again by chaining up 2, okay, and then we're going to do some treble crochet stitches. Now, the reason why is because since they're going to be crossed, they need to be a little bit longer. All right, if you're doing doubles, it's not going to be pretty. So yarning over twice for a treble. And so around this one here, we're going to skip these 2 front post stitches for now. And we're going to go into around the post of this solitary one with 2 treble front post crochet stitches. So through 2, through 2, through 2, and we're going to do it again. So yarning over twice around that post, through 2, through 2, through 2. Okay, now we have to deal with these 2 that we left behind, right? So now this is where it seems like, really, Craig, what are you doing to me? All right, we're going to have to do 2 regular treble crochet stitches. First one is going to go into this stitch, in the top of this stitch, and then the second one in the top of this stitch. Okay, so it's following order in a backwards way, and I know that sounds weird, but it works. So best way I've found for doing this is, yarn over twice, and then going in around and then catching the top of that stitch. Or if you turn your work a little bit, that might help too. It's really difficult for me to try to do this in an effectual manner, but one way that it could be done is like this, turning your work over, okay, and going in this way. You see, there's that first of the stitches that we have to go into. And then do your treble crochet. So you see, there it is around the back. And it's in the stitch because we just turned the work. And then we'll do another one. It's the next stitch over. It's this stitch right here that we didn't go into yet. And pulling out my loop there. So we have, this one was increased, and then we have these two going into the stitches behind. And that successfully creates a grouping of 4 stitches that are effectually crossed. So yes, we are going to do this a bunch of times because I want to make sure that you guys get it. All right, so scooting right along. Going to do our first 2 front post double crochets around this solitary one. Which is the easy part. And then around this one again. Okay, and then again, we have to go around these 2 stitches, well, into these 2 stitches, this one and this one. Now I'm going to show you, without turning the work, what it would look like. And yes, I know it seems like I've lost my marbles, but yeah, it actually works. All right, and then going around this next, well, into that, we're not going around the post, we're just going into the tops of the stitches. And I've seen other people do it where they actually go and do front post treble crochets, you know, around and through and around these. Actually, it's just as effectual if you just go into the tops of the stitches like I've done. It's just as effective, I found. All right, so now we've got 2 groupings. So let's do that again. I definitely am going to do a couple of these because I am sure that some of you are breaking out the aspirin, and I don't want to give you a headache. No, 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 no. That's why I want to be thorough. This is not something to be afraid of. This is something to conquer. All right, let's do another pairing where we actually turn the work. Just slightly. Okay, so this one here is going to be the first one, right? There we go. And then oh, I went over one too many. I did. See, even I make mistakes. It does happen. I'm not infallible. So let's do that one again. It's this one right here. Okay. See, it's good to keep an eye on your stitches so that you're sure of going into the correct one. So it's like you sort of pick the stitch and then get a better view of it, like so. There we go. So now I've got 3 groupings. All right, let's do a couple more of these, okay? Let's do a couple more. Also, I realize I should have said this before. I would strongly suggest watching this first and then attempting it, okay? Because if you're trying to watch and see what it is that I'm doing while actually trying to do it yourselves, that's going to be very frustrating. So I would say put down the hook. Yep, put down the hook, put down the yarn, and watch first, and then try it once you get an idea as to what it is that I'm doing. Okay, I can't stress that enough. So we just did this one. Let's do another one. So, I mean, this right now, this is the easy part. Doubling up on the front posts. Yes, this is an easy part. The hard part is going around the back. But let me tell you, this did not just come magically to me. No, no, no. I had to practice this, okay? All right, so again, there's my stitch, because I've got 1 and 2, right? Well, I got to go into this one. So again, sort of marking it with my thumbnail. Yeah, that is the stitch. See, if you turn it, it becomes a lot easier to see what it is that you're actually doing. See, that's the one. And then the one right next to it. Okay, another grouping of 4. That's 1. And 2, and then let's do the second 2. And actually, I can just go right next to it, since I did the first one to show me which stitch I needed to go into initially. And then you're just doing the one right next to it, really. See? And then, if I'm not mistaken, the next round should be a little bit easier. Also because we will have this a bit more established. Okay, so into this one right here. See? And then the one right next to it. Okay. Let's do one more together. Okay, so into this stitch right here. then the one right next to it. And there you go. Now, I wouldn't really stress too much if you have a loop like that in between your clusters. I wouldn't freak out over that in the grand scheme of things. No, I wouldn't. And so basically, just keep on keeping on in the same fashion all the way around. And then when I get up to about this point, I will show you how to finish the round. Okay, I'll be right back. You got this. I know you got this. I'll be right back. All right, so I'm almost done with round 4. Just got a couple more to go. And yes, at this point, the vinyl record is really warping, but I do want to show you a valid point in just a moment about that. So I got my 2 front posts, then I go in through the back. Okay, that's one. Let's do the second one. Second one is always easier than the first. The first one's like, oh God, really? Again? All right, and then we have our last trio here. There we go. Okay, and then 2 more. And I can't stress this enough. Oxygen is your friend. Do not forget to breathe. I often do that myself. Okay, very good. All right, so we got all that done. Now, going to slip stitch to that first of the front post double crochet stitches that we did. And there you are. Now, yes, this looks like a hot mess. I realize that. However, we are, of course, going to be not increasing at some point, right? So, and it's going to start to come down. Well, at that point, look at this. If you just flatten it down, because you're going to have the pressure of it on the top of your head, right? Well, if you flatten it down, it does work. It does remain flat. So do not worry. Do not freak out. This is normal at the moment, okay? Do not worry. All right, so let's move on to round 5. Alrighty, so rounds 5 and 6 are going to be the repeat because we're not going to be increasing anymore. Typically, when you are doing hat patterns, there's a lot more rounds of increasing. But like I said, I wanted to sort of nip it in the bud early so that we could get right in to the weaving aspect of the pattern. So that being said, all right, we just did our slip stitch. See, this was our initial chain 2, and we slip stitched into there. Well, in order to do the weaving, we're going to need to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. There's 1 and 2. And frankly, I find that this round is going to be a little bit easier than the last one because you can actually see what it is that you're doing, a little bit easier than the last one. So again, chain up 2, and we're going to be working with these 2 and these 2. So these 2 are going to go first, and then these two are going to go second. Okay, again, just like we did before, but in order for the weaving to work, it's going to be a little bit different. So to start off with, front post, double crochet, because we've got, it's good. Basically, I know this sounds weird. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so around this one here, front post, double crochet. Oh, my bad. Treble crochet. Excusez-moi. Treble. Yarning over twice, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, because it needs to be long enough. And then this next one, treble crochet around that one on the front post. Okay, now these two back here, 3 and 4, we're going to front post treble crochet those two, but we're not going to go around the back because we want these two stitches to go in front of these two stitches. We want it to overlap. Okay, so yarning over twice, and I find it's easiest to sort of grab from underneath this next stitch, sort of pulling it up a little bit, and get around that post. So through 2, and through 2, yarning over twice, again, sort of scooting it up a little bit, because they like to, sort of burrow and bury themselves, but now we gotta bring them out into the light. So as you can see, we still have the crossing over, but now it's going in the opposite direction, and that's what creates the weave. So let's do a bunch of these, but yeah, this is considerably easier than the last round, I know. All right, so we did these already. These were the first two that we did. So we're going to be working with these 4 now, okay? So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's go around this one here. Through 2, through 2, through 2. Next one. Through 2, through 2, through 2. Yarning over twice. And then we've got these two little boogers right here. Pulling up that post. Through 2, and 2, and 2. Pulling up that next one. Through 2, and 2, and 2. And they are crossing over once again. Okay, let's do a couple more. So again, it's going to be this pairing of 4. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Through 2, and 2, and 2. Through 2, and 2, and 2. And then these back 2. Through 2, and 2, and 2. Through 2, and 2, and 2. So you can see that the ones that were up and above are now underneath, and vice versa. And that's what creates the woven look. So let me do perhaps another 1 or 2 of these. Through 2, and 2, and 2. Through 2, and 2, and 2. Going back. 2, 2, 2. See, I didn't lie when I said this round was a lot easier than the last one, but it's, it alternates back and forth. The next round is going to be very similar to round 4, although we aren't going to be increasing, so. All right, so I'm just going to do these last 2. And then I'm going to finish up the rest of this round off camera. Okay, so that is how the rest of round 5 is going to go, where you're going to be doing front post, and then front post, okay, in that order. And then you're going to work your way all the way around, and I will meet back up with you around here and show you the join, okay? Be right back. All right, so I'm almost done with round 5. Just got to do one more grouping here. And then onwards to round 6, which is the equivalent to round 4, except, like I said, no increasing. Okay, so I've got my groups all done. Now, actually, no. Oh, I've got one more. My bad. Because we shifted over initially. There we go. And then these 2 down here. Alrighty. So you can see that this was our initial chaining up of 2, and we crossed over from the previous round. So going to do a slip stitch into this first stitch that's crossed over in the back. It would help if my yarn were in the right place. There we go. And slip stitch. And there you go. That is the end of round 5. All right, round 6. Going to start by slip stitching into the next 2 stitches. We just slip stitched into that top of that first one. Well, we have to get 2 more over, so slip and slip. You're going to do this at the beginning of every round, whether it's round 5 or round 6, for the repeat. All right, so first things first, chain up 2, yarning over twice. So we're going to be going into these 2 and these 2. And for these 2, well, we're going to bring them to the forefront by doing front post treble crochets to raise them up. From the back, because they were buried. Now they're going to be up on top. And for them to stay on top, these 2 stitches need to be behind. So again, yep, we have to go around the back. And we're going to be going into this stitch where we did our slip stitch. Okay. treble crochet into that stitch. And then treble crochet into the next stitch, right next to that one. Okay, so that is our first two done. So we did these, now it's these two and these two. So again, bringing these to the forefront by front post treble crocheting this one and the next. And then going around the back. So I've got this one and this one. And then the next stitch over. Okay. So we just did these two. So now it's these two and these two. So let's bring these forward. And then hide, well, sort of hide the next two, these two, into the background. And that is really how you do the rest of round 6. It's a little bit easier because we're not increasing. Going after the next two to raise them up. And then scooch the next two behind. All right, so I'm going to do the rest of this round off camera. Just keep going in the same fashion, of course. And I will show you how to finish up round 6. Okay, I'll be right back. Okie dokie, so I'm almost done with round 6. I just wanted to touch base. So I just have these 4 stitches left to go. Just got to bring these two to the forefront. And then have the next two recede. And then we can do our slip stitch. So going back. There we go. And then into the next one. Why am I having trouble here? Ah, there we go. Alrighty. There we go. And so we are now up to where we started because you can see that we have no more to work with. So that being said, going to slip stitch into this first one here out of this raised grouping of 2. And there you go. So basically what it amounts to is repeating rounds 5 and 6. So what I'm going to do is briefly go over the beginnings of those two. And, well, yeah, we'll go from there. Alrighty, so to recap round 5, slip stitch into the next 2 stitches from where we're at. Chain up 2. And then we're going to be working with these 2 and these 2, right? Well, these 2 are raised, so that means they have to be behind this round. So first, front post, these 2, and then front post, these 2 back here. It's a little bit tricky, but it is worth the effort. There we go. Okay. So as you can see, now they're crossing over in the opposite direction. Okay, let's do another pairing. So front post, front post the front posts, and then front post the ones that are hidden. These 2 back here. Two more. Okay. And then I'll do a recapping of round 6. All right, so that is how you do round 5 again. Okay, and so work your way all the way around, and you would end with this grouping here, these 2 and these 2, not to be confused with this chaining up of 2, okay? Okay, I'll be right back. Alrighty, so I'm almost done with the repeat for round 5. I just want to finish up these last bunch here. These 2 front posts. And then the front posts to go over them. And again, be careful not to utilize that chain 2 that we made before. And really, it blends right in the grand scheme of things, I think. Okay, so now going to slip stitch into the first of these back hidden ones. And then to go on to round 6 for the repeat, you would slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. Chain up 2. Okay, then bring these to the forefront because you've got these 2 and these 2. So bring these 2 to the forefront with front posts. And then we have to scooch these to the back. So again, going around the back. With these two. And really, that's the repeat, rounds 5 and 6 respectively, for as long as you want your hat to be, or as high as you want your hat to be. Like so. And keep in mind that you are going to want, I imagine, some sort of brim. So you don't want to go down too terribly low with the body of your hat. You know, you want to leave, I would say, like a inch, 2 inches for brimming, which I will show you how to do as well. And when I say brimming, I mean sort of a 1-by-1 front and back post double crochet rib. It's sort of my go-to with hat brims, but you can of course do whatever it is that you would prefer. So that is how you would continue on with round 6 for the repeat. Okay. And so what I did was, let me show you here. Okay, as far as how many rounds, okay, now if you look at this piece here, okay, we have our initial sort of increase right there, and then so that would be 1, and that would be 2, right? If you want to go with directionals, so 1 and 2. Looking here, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, or conversely, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, this is just me and what I decided to do for mine, and then I did a couple of rounds of ribbing. You might not want it to be quite this wide, you know, a matter of personal preference, of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep repeating rounds 5 and 6 on my own. And like I was saying before, how it sort of lays flat. Well, since we haven't been doing any increasing, it is starting to curl upwards. That, of course, is normal. Let me show you. So the top of the crown, yeah, it's flat. I didn't lie. And so this, yes, it is going to keep growing out this way, or, you know, out this way. And then when you put on the ribbing, it will really frame it very nicely. Okay, so I'm going to do my bunch of rounds, repeating rounds 5 and 6 over and over, and I will meet back up with you for the ribbing. Okay, be right back. Alrighty, so I've been busy off camera, and as you can see, if we're going based off of these lines here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, or in the opposite direction, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so for me, this works. It is just covering the tips of my ears, so this is long enough for me. And so now we are going to start in on preparing the brim for this hat. There we go. Okay, so what I like to do is, at this point, I like to swap out my hook size. So I'm going from my size I down to my size H. And we're just going to do double crochets all the way around to create a foundation for the ribbing. So chain up 2. And then into every stitch, just do a double crochet, not front post, not back post, no craziness, just double crochet into every stitch all the way around. No big deal. and it will work out as far as the ribbing goes because we have an even number of stitches, most definitely. Now, if for whatever reason you had a miscount, it's really not going to make a huge difference, and it will blend in well enough, I'm sure. It's okay. All right, so do your double crochets all the way around. And then so these two would be the last, and then slip stitch into that first double crochet. Keep in mind that again, we're using that chaining of 2 to give us some height, but that doesn't actually count as your first stitch. All right, so work your way around, and I will meet back up with you for the ribbing. Okay, so now that we have the foundation for the brim all set up and I already slip stitched to my first double crochet, now for the ribbing, chain up 2. And again, this right here is our chain 2 from before. So around this first post, do a front post, double crochet. Next one, back post. So going around the back, grab the yarn, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then front post, and back post. And then front, and back. Just back and forth for a 1-by-1 ribbing all the way around. And yep, we are in the home stretch, in case you didn't know. All right, so that's what you do for the rest of this round. Just back and forth, back and forth. And then when you reach the end of the round, so this would be a front post, this would be a back post, and then slip stitch into the top of this first front post that we did right here. All right, and I will meet back up with you to show you how to go about making more of a ribbing. I'll be right back. All right, so I'm almost done with the first round of the ribbing. And as I said, these last 2 stitches are going to be a front post and a back post. And then we do the join to that first front post. Again, don't be deceived by that chain 2. So going into that front post, the top there with a slip stitch. And there you go. All right, so then to continue on, quite simply, just chain up 2 and front post around the front post stitches and back post around the back post stitches. So you're just following suit with what is already there. And you can do as many of these rounds as you would like. Me, personally, I like to do, at least 2 so that it really establishes itself. And if you want a wider brim, go for it. If you want it to be more narrow, hey, that's fine too. And so yeah, you just keep going on in the same fashion to create your brim. Now for the one that I have over here, I did, let me see, it looks like 3 rounds of the ribbing, because you can see 1, 2, and 3. And that's what I did for my hat here. All right, my dears, so that concludes the Celtic Weave hat tutorial. I hope you liked it, and if you did, don't hesitate. Give a little thumbs up button down below, because, I appreciate your appreciation. And also, I hope that this pattern was not too intimidating for you because I know perfectly well that it looks it. I know, trust me. But I hope that my explanation was sufficient and that you give it a try yourself. And don't forget, breathe. Oxygen is your friend. If you get frustrated with a project, whether it's this or something else, it's okay. Put it down and come back to it. That being said, do stay tuned, stay subscribed because there's always lots more to come, whether it's knitting or crocheting, audiobook narration, or of course my other YouTube channel, Fiber Spider Games, where I do video game playthrough and commentary. And also, of course, you can check out my Teespring store where I sell merchandise, or my Etsy store where you can find things that I have made myself, like this hat, for instance. Until next time, I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, stay safe, and stay yarny. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.